The pain of our past persists to this day. In Kentucky, like many states throughout the South, lynching was a tool of terror. It was used to kill hopes for freedom. It was used to kill my ancestors. Now, in a historic victory for our Commonwealth, I have become the first Black Kentuckian to receive the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate. My opponent, the very person who compared expanded health care to slavery. The person who said he would have opposed the Civil Rights Act. The person who single-handedly blocked an anti-lynching act from being federal law. The choice couldn't be clearer. Do we move forward together? Or do we let politicians like Rand Paul forever hold us back and drive us apart? In November, we will choose healing. We will choose Kentucky.
Sometimes you need to get knocked down before you can really figure out what your fight is and how you need to fight it. Sometimes you need to feel the pain and sting of defeat to activate the real passion and purpose that God predestined inside of you. God says in Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Hear me well on this day. This day when you have reached the hilltop and you are deciding on next jobs, next steps, careers, further education. You would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. When God has something for you, it doesn't matter who stands against it. If it's meant for you, God will move someone that's holding you back away from a door and put someone there who will open it for you. I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it. Press on with pride and press on with purpose and appreciate what God has brought you through.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World.
Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get the groove in a bag of a can. Put the big around the world and the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your man, Lloyd Spencer. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports development, including this year's NBA championship, the NHL conference finals, Major League Baseball, and the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures, all at BetOnline. Here's what you got to do. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get the bonus and get into action. It's BetOnline. It's BetOnline.ag. It's where the game starts. And all you got to do is tell them the noise.
Welcome to Talkin NOIZ, the daily podcast that brings you up to speed and keeps you informed about real issues affecting real people. With your host, Mr. Talkin NOIZ himself, Lloyd Spence. His beautiful wife, Mrs. NOIZ, Kenyatta Spence. The ever-informed Brother NOIZ, Alan Brown. And yours cordially, Uncle NOIZ, Shake Anderson. Come on in and join us as we reveal and opine today's most pressing issues. Real truth while having real fun. Talkin NOIZ is in your house right now. So sit back and enjoy Talkin NOIZ.
So keeping your head above water, making a way with your dad. Gonna be at the show. Good time. Good time. Good time.
That was early.
Good time. Ain't we lucky we got 'em?
Better not bring your kids.
Good time.
What's going on, people? Yeah, that was me. I was adding a little commentary. I had a little commentary every week. Ladies and gentlemen, Thought Engineers in the building. Mama Noise is in the building. We are actually coming in hot today because normally I would turn it over to White Organist. He would play us in like with some metacreational music and get us started. And I would let y'all even know what was going on with White Organist. But he's off today, and it's perfect timing because we got breaking news. Breaking news coming in hot. Two very hot stories broke right as the show was starting. Number one, New York Times is reporting that Deshaun Watson booked massages for 66 different women over the course of 17 months.
Oh, wow.
Now, I think this is incredibly interesting for one reason and one reason only. How these 66 women view this whole experience is going to decide his fate in the NFL. Because right now, proportionally, technically, he's only assaulted a third of them.
Allegedly.
Well, again, no court of law has proven or even found evidence that it should go to court. As we sit here today, there are 24 civil suits, which does not need a preponderance of evidence, only 51%. But no criminal case has been pushed against him. But there are 66 confirmed booked masseuse, female, according to the New York Times. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to decide his football future.
I think
I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on this. What are you saying?
I think that's more what it's about. It's about the public perception.
Yeah.
So yeah. They can destroy public persona and nobody won't touch him.
Well, here's what I think is going to be interesting. There's only 24 today that have joined the civil suit, right? There's no number that has been discussed, although allegedly he wants to pay all 24 women $100,000 apiece to go away, which, you know, you just signed a $230 million contract, bro. We're not even in a proportional state right now. So I don't know what happens with this because you can look at this one way. Uh-oh. That's gotta be you, mama. Unmute. Let me see. Oh, I'm feeding back into Derrick's mic. That's what it is. Okay.
I'm like, I don't even have my mic on.
Yeah, I'm feeding back whatever Derrick's situation is. He got. We'll just have to play with it tonight because we're gonna have a thought engineer on here. And that's what we're doing. We're having him on here. Okay. So here's you can look at this one of two ways. Either he's going to eventually be found guilty by public opinion over a preponderance of people, not evidence, but people, or here's the other one, 44 women or 42 women didn't have the same experience as the other 24. So that people are going to say, well, 44 women said it was fine. Why did these 24 say it wasn't? And if that happens, so this is going to get real interesting real fast.
Yeah, I was just wondering, did he have favorites or something? Because there's a lot of women, it's kind of odd.
Well, listen, I think what we've discovered about him very quickly is that he's a stone cold freak. Like that part is clear. He is a stone cold freak. Loves the company of beautiful women. Loves to get a massage. Loves to have them rubbing all over him, and is a big fan of the happy ending. Now, what we don't know yet is, are these agreed upon situations, or are these moments of regret? It was taken to court 3 times. The evidence was taken to court with the 22 women at the time and brought back by Houston courts to say, you got nothing. "22 women getting 22 testimonies, and you bring them to a judge or to a court, and the court says you don't have a case?" Just saying.
Yeah, it's fishy. Something's fishy. Plus, there was a bad relationship between him and the franchise, the organization.
Right.
There was definitely bad blood between them. And you got money to put a smear campaign together. But if he was doing this, he has a problem. He needs to go to some counseling because,
Well, I think he still needs to go to counseling.
Oh yeah, 1 or 2 infractions. Like, okay, maybe he was just so attracted to that person or something.
Right.
But if this is, you got a serious problem.
He out here putting up Bill Cosby type numbers.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying it. I'm just saying allegation-wise. Allegation-wise. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm just saying allegation-wise. These are Bill Cosby type numbers. So that's the first story that broke just as we were coming on the air. The other one, which to me is shocking because I wasn't even aware that they were in court. But apparently Todd and Julie Chrisley are going to jail. The judge, look at Mama Noise. She didn't know either. The judge knows best. They have been indicted. They have been found guilty over guilty of bank fraud and tax evasion. According to, and I'm reading this from TMZ, who got it from Evan Real, who got it from TMZ. The court clerk said that they filed fake documents to the bank to get loans. They filed fake tax returns, and they filed false credit reports. And a lot of this came out when Todd's former business partner, Mark Braddock, who was also his lover, you would have to be blind not to have seen that coming, tried to blackmail him and to keep the affair secret from his current wife, Julie, and all of it came out, and that dude sung like Nino Brown. So now Todd and Julie Chrisley are going to jail. I am shocked. I got to tell you, I am shocked. Look, everybody's like, what? What? Yes, Dr. Smith, it is true. They are going to jail. The penalty or the most that they can be handed out is 30 years.
The least shocking part is the man.
No, that wasn't shocking.
That's the least shocking part. Yeah,
I have always thought that he either was recovering gay or DL.
Yeah,
that didn't shock me at all.
Yeah, yeah. That always seemed off to me about, But the money, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised. They did too much. They did too much. So like every other season, they was moving to another big house. So I watched it. My wife would watch it, and I'm paying attention to it. I'm like, how you just can move from house to house just like that by your kids, lavish houses, and I'm like, something ain't right with that. Something ain't right with that.
But what I'm trying to understand is, if you making all this money, because the show was on for what, like a decade? Hadn't it been on for like almost a decade?
It was on for a while.
Why are you out here faking credit reports and stuff? Like, just, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why you need all these loans or credit reports or I don't understand it. But they got busted, and they are going to appeal. So they will go through the appeal process. I don't know what that ultimately means. I'm assuming that they'll, I guess, I don't know if they can pull a Juicy Smouye and do the time at home while the appeal process goes on, because that's what he's doing right now. People think Juicy Smouye is free. He's not free. He's just on home incarceration until the appeal process, runs its course. But I'm gonna tell you, this is shocking to me.
He may be on house arrest, but he can get DoorDash or something. When you in jail, you can't get none of that.
Is that the key component to decide?
They're real creative. I done seen many videos come out of jail lately.
Oh yeah. They got cell phones in jail now.
They're doing a whole lot of jail.
He's got all the luxuries of just being at home during the pandemic. Like when the rest of the country was just shut down, where they couldn't come out of their house. I mean, they could, but they really didn't want to. So I mean, he's just right now, and he's in the I don't want to legally, where you got to have the little ankle bracelet thing on. Other than that.
We're going to clearly have to amend some things, because I used to say hell have no fear like a woman scorn, but apparently hell have no fear like a lover scorn, because apparently the dude was like, hi, I got receipts. And he ratted him all the way out.
I'm with Selena. I thought he was just, I
never thought he was just,
I thought he was just flamboyant.
Nah. Dudes, listen, let me tell you something, Mama Noise. Dudes know. Dudes know when a brother ain't right. And when you watch that dude, you're like, he's a little suspect. He might be trying to recover. He might be trying to fight that thing, which I applaud him if he is, but nah. Nah.
I mean, I knew it was a little extra, but I just,
Nah.
Yeah. You don't find men that's just that extra. Not
that extra. Yeah, he was way over the top.
Way over the top.
Yeah, he was way over the top.
I mean, I guess.
He was so over the top. There were times I thought they were in a lesbian relationship. I'm just saying.
Hey, you never know all these definitions these days, man. You don't know how
I can't keep up with all of them.
I'm just saying. Hey, take it for what it's worth. Okay. All right, so those are the two breaking news, and I'm sure we'll get back to that later on in the week or whatever, but I had to bring those to the peoples. Noisemakers, it's good to see y'all. Appreciate y'all for pulling up for the Tonight Show. We got the Thought Engineer in the building. He got so much going on. We're gonna get to all his accolades and shows and sermons and everything else as we get to the end. But the man is a genius. That's why we bring him in, and especially on topics like this, because this is his window. And yes, he is Dr. Smith from Uncorked Wines. Boo. That's her boo.
Yeah. Like, let me just put that out there in case you ain't
right. State your claim, girl. State your claim. I ain't mad at you. I ain't even mad at you. But I'm glad you're here tonight, man, because we got a topic that I think is it's interesting to me in the sense that as society continues to unfold, especially over the past month, I'm starting to craft my own understanding a little bit different than I have before. And I know, and we've created Talk That Tuesday to merge two fantastic opposing questions together into one. So today's is the gun violence problem linked to gun laws, or is gun violence linked to broken neighborhoods and broken people? So I'm watching society unfold, and I'm seeing some things that obviously we don't like. We don't like what's happening with the mass murders, as we reported yesterday. Over the course of 100, what is it, Mama Noise? I forget the number. It was 146 days. There have been 246 what definitionally we call mass shootings. And if you go by the definition of mass shootings as both killings and shootings, they've been shot. The person got shot. Then that would be why they get to that number of 246. And by the way, Derrick, I don't know if you were aware of this. I didn't even know that there was not a universal working definition for mass shootings. The FBI doesn't even call it mass shootings. They call it either mass murders or mass killings, but they don't even classify shootings at all. So this definition that we're working by is from like gun advocates and other or gun
enthusiasts,
but not gun advocates, but gun people who are against, who want better gun laws. I'll just leave it there. I won't get technical. But and then of course USA Today classifies it as mass. They say it's mass shootings, and they have their definition of mass shootings as being when a person is just hit with a bullet, whether they die or not, they are hit with a bullet, which I like. And personally, I think that's the best.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. So what brought this one up today was what just happened over the weekend, where we had like 4 or 5 mass shootings in various different places across the country, and it seemed like almost at the same time. It went off like a chain reaction. And we keep saying, we got to change the gun laws. We got to change the gun laws. And so that's what Governor Hochul did in New York today. She changed the gun laws. She put in 10 very stringent gun laws. The biggest being that she raised the age to buy a semi-automatic weapon from 18 to 21 in the state of New York. An 18-year-old cannot walk into a Walmart on their birthday and say, "Can I get an AR-15?" She said, and I quote, "Those days are over." And maybe that is a step in the right direction. It sounds like a step in the right direction. But what gives me pause, and then I turn this over to you and Mama Noise, is that, number one, the 246 mass shootings are of mixed race. They are not just racial shootings, not all of them. That's number one. Number two, those mass shootings do not include singular shootings. So there have been shootings practically every day across the country. And many of those are cultural crimes of the same culture in particular neighborhoods. Perfect example, we have a mutual friend who was at his child's graduation, and at the end of the graduation, there was a drive-by shooting and a young man was shot. I don't know if he died, but he was definitely shot. Well, that's not racial. That's just black people in a neighborhood doing stuff. And we see that all the time. We hear that every day. So will gun laws take that away? So it brings us to an interesting statement that a conversation that we're having today. And I'm looking forward to jumping deep into this thing with Mama Noise and Ron and the thought engineer. But I turn it over. Mama Noise, you mind if we turn it over to the thought engineer first? Yeah, and say, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts about who's at fault, or is it a combination of a lot of things, or what are your thoughts to all of it?
I think the approach of stricter gun laws it's only going to do so much, right? Because here's the problem, and I'm not one in support of guns, but guns don't kill people. Stupid people with guns kill people.
Facts.
And I like to tell people, anything that's created, anything that's ever been created, ever made, it has a duality to it. Meaning, depending on the person who's handling it, it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. Anything. And until we get that and understand, it's the things that we're putting out, it's the ideas that we're putting out. there's inflammatory things on social media all the time. And when you got especially young people who don't process things as well, they don't have the maturity. Now, I'm not saying they're not mature enough to know right from wrong, but they have less of a guard on their actions because they've been coddled so much. You're dealing with a generation who everybody cleans up their mess. They're not used to suffering their own consequences. So when it comes to them doing things like this, they don't think properly. And we keep making excuses for people that do these types of things. Now, the interesting thing is there have been drive-by shootings and shootings, you know, in our neighborhoods all the time. Nobody raised any eyebrows at them. Why? Because if you want it, that's a mass shooting. A drive-by is a mass shooting.
No question about it. Yes. And has been for quite some time.
Right. What nobody really raising any eyebrows at those things. Why? Because maybe it wasn't the neighborhood that it happened in.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you this, the more laws you have to add, the weaker your society is becoming.
Talk about it.
Because it means the relations between people are getting that much worse to now you're trying to legislate behavior. And so rather, if me and you, you know, if I all of a sudden hit you, now I start hitting you. Now you say, I got to pass a law to stop him from hitting me, instead of us having a conversation. Say, man, why you keep hitting me? Oh man, well, such and such happened. You just seem to acknowledge it. So I kept hitting you. So you got to create a law to stop me from doing something. And that's the thing that gets me about the whole argument. It's people that we're dealing with. And we pump all kinds of things at people for the sake of dollars, but we never understand the implications behind it. And then too, I look at this whole thing and I see a bigger play with this whole deal.
Okay.
I see a bigger play with this. So I don't think, this is me personally, I don't think this stuff is as random as people try to make it seem.
What do you mean? Now
we got way too much intelligence for people not to know what's going on, and then all of a sudden be shocked when it happens. This one kid that I think the kid in Uvalde, that stuff he had would cost $9,000 to put that package together. They did the calculation about $9,000. Either him or the guy in Brooklyn. I mean in Buffalo. One of them, their whole getup was about $9,000. What 18-year-old has $9,000 to spend? Listen, the IRS can track anything monetarily. They can raise an eyebrow if you go and spend $1 over on something and don't report it. But you can't notice that an 18-year-old kid is spending this much money and nobody's raising an eyebrow to ask what's going on.
Wait a minute, hold on. You done introduced a whole nother element to the conversation, sir.
A gun person looked at the report of all the equipment the kid had. And they said, looking at that equipment, the amount of rounds, the type of guns, all this type of stuff, he said, you looking at about $9,000.
Wow.
To put something like that together. The kid in Buffalo was heavily armed. He was military fitted.
Yeah, no, he was ready to go.
Plus
he scouted the area, which speaks to what you're saying. Because if somebody's paying for you to do something, then you want to make sure you do it right. So you go scout the area to make sure that it's being prepared well. Woo, Derrick, my goodness. We may have entered a whole new condition.
Now, this is the reason why I'm not for locking up all the guns. Because the people who do right are always at the mercy of those who do wrong when there is no true justice.
Mm-hmm.
If justice is not being done properly, those who choose to do right are always going to be at the mercy of those who do wrong. All right. So you lock up the guns, but it's always going to be people who figure out a way to get them.
Oh yeah.
And now everybody else is at their mercy. And I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, to your point, and Mama Noise, I'd love to hear you respond to some of this as well. To your point, that I hate to be I may have to give myself the button for this one, but I don't think I'm wrong though. Every gun that's in South Dallas or the west end of Louisville is not a legal gun. I can promise you that. That is not a legally purchased gun. That they don't have licensing, or when licensing was in play in Texas, they didn't have licensing when they got those guns. And I can definitely tell you in the west end of Louisville, they don't have licenses like that. They don't even try to get licenses like that. A lot of them can't get those licenses because of past experiences. So yet the entire neighborhood is flooded with artillery. People got guns, lots of them. So how is it getting there? You know, and Derrick, you bring up an interesting point, man. I was not aware. See, I'm not a gun person, so I have no idea what an AR-15. I've never Googled it. I have no idea what an AR-15 even cost. Now I'm going to Google it now, but
Well, I can tell you, ammunition is expensive.
So okay, so is the ammunition more expensive than the gun itself, or is it about?
I think considering how much he had, it would be.
It would be. Wow. Let's see. Dan Bell said, "Oh wow, he got a lot to say." Okay, gun owner, I believe no one should be allowed to purchase any firearm unless you are the age of 21 and 1 day years old. Then need a complete, extensive background check before you can leave with the firearm. That weapon should be registered like a car in your name, national database. Then hold those gun owners. Right. I 1,000 agree with everything you said, Dan. 1,000% agree. But I think we should even take it a step further than that. Don't just register the gun. Register the purchase of the bullets as well. We have to have an extensive way to track back who did what. So even if you miss, we got your shells. We can take the serial number and track it back to you. I wonder if would that make people think twice about firing their gun. And I agree with Anthony Bruce. He said none of that is going to stop the crazy. I agree. There's still going to be crazy people. Which brings us to the topic we have today. Is this going to stop crazy people from doing crazy things? Probably not, because we got two separate problems going on. But at least it will make it a little bit harder for the crazy to get it if the background check is extensive enough. Maybe there's questions we can put into the test to see if, psychological questions we can put in there to see if you're a little crazy or a little evil, to test your mental capacities or whatever. They do that for the FBI and the CIA and the Secret Service.
So we talking about defund the police. People would say defund the police. Why don't you transfer those funds into making resources available to do those types of screenings? Because that's gonna take some manpower to be available to do those types of screenings. Put that on the preventive side and transfer the money over that way instead of just heavy artillery with the with law enforcement.
Mama Noise, let me ask you your thoughts. What are your thoughts hearing some of the things you're hearing right now? Other than the fact I know you're going to say your mind is blown.
Well, no, actually, I was going to say it does shock me to know that, first of all, when I got my driver's license, I had to go through so much. You go through the book test, then you had to go to the road test. Now, I don't know what they've changed since then. But I mean, even as a teenager, and if you didn't pass certain markers, you ain't getting no license. But yet, here in the state of Texas, what is it now? You don't even have to have a license. You don't even have to have a permit or any of that now. I forgot what it was. It just got passed here recently. You don't have to have all of that. So we don't need to have nothing earmarked. We just need to be able to go in and afford one. That just is just unbelievable. And I guess I came out of, before I was working in education for a while, I worked in the medical field. And in the medical field, like I was talking about last night, is that when you want a narcotic drug, if the doctor, prescribes a narcotic drug, he uses a certain prescription pad. He doesn't use, when you get your regular prescriptions that's not, not narcotic, you use a plain prescription pad. And at the pharmacy, there's a red flag that goes off when you come in there trying to purchase narcotic drugs and it hadn't been 30 days or you've been down the street and had this same prescription filled, or I was about to date myself and said, or you Xeroxed it. Okay. No, you made a copy of it and then you went somewhere else trying to get that same prescription filled. They're like red flags go all over, go off because of, purchasing narcotics. But you mean to tell me all of this goes on for somebody trying to purchase narcotics? All of this went on in order to get a license to drive a however many ton vehicle. And for guns, we're saying you don't need anything except to be able to go and purchase. You have the money to purchase it. That makes absolutely no sense.
To your point, I saw a video. They took a 13-year-old boy on his 13th birthday. They sent him into a convenience store to buy cigarettes, and they says, how old are you? They checked his age. They sent him in a liquor store to buy liquor. They said, how old are you? And they checked him, and they did several different things, and they all checked his age. Sent him to a gun show, and he bought a gun.
Wow.
13. He had a hidden camera on him, but yeah. So we'll protect, or we'll watch you as far as you hurting yourself, but you hurting other people. Go ahead.
Well, the car you drive it weighs several tons. The car you drive. So you're saying, I need you to have a license to drive this vehicle. It's mandatory. We have to have a license. So, but alcohol, I'm gonna need you to be 21. Okay. I'm gonna need you to be 21 for alcohol. I mean, it's so much off about all of this. You're going, is everything that antiquated? Do we need to? Is clearly we need to revise some stuff because something is off.
I'm over here looking at cost of AR-15s and bullets, and I mean bullets vary in cost. Like Danny said, you can get one at $40. I saw one that was as much as $239. It's so whether it's $40 or whether it's $239, you said it was $9,000. If the average cost of an AR-15 is somewhere between $800 to $2,000, so that $1,500 is probably right. That means that dude was armed for a war.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, whether he paid $40 for it, and then I didn't read anywhere where he said he worked at this Fortune 500 company.
No.
So so did he steal the bullets from a relative, or did he steal it from, or I mean, can we trace it back to a bank receipt? What are we talking about right now? This is interesting, man.
And see, I think I got a low trust for people I say people in authority, but when it comes to this country, after we found out what happened with the crack epidemic, snowfall and the whole nine.
Right.
I get a bad feeling when I see stuff like this, because you looked at that and then they came behind that with the war on drugs. You put the drugs there and then legislate to lock everybody up. So I'm like, it just gives me this vibe like something's more to this than we really paying attention to.
And I'm glad you brought that up because Mama Noise laughs at me when I be watching some of these shows. But like with Snowfall, to me, that sent a real interesting education to me because I'm saying this is what I've always believed. Because there's no possible way to bring in the type and the level of drug. Listen, drive this United States and look all around as far as the eye can see and tell me how many cocoa plants you can find.
There are none.
That's what I'm saying. So for crack to become an epidemic, it was an epidemic. It literally blitzed urban neighborhoods all across the United States for about 10 to 15 years. For it to become an epidemic, that can't happen without some type of massive system and money being in place. There has to be something going on. So, you can call us conspiracy theorists on this show if you like. Whatever, we'll own that. But the reality of it is, help make it make sense. If you think we're wrong, then make it make sense. Make an 18-year-old boy who clearly had mental health issues in Uvalde, Texas, or 18-year-old boy in Buffalo who I will say did not have mental issues, despite what people might try to tell you. Make it make sense that they both had $9,000 worth of. Make that make sense to me. Well, if you got a better thing than my conspiracy, then make that make sense to me.
Did Kyle Rittenhouse have a mental condition?
They had a family pack. Didn't his mama drive him there and drop him off?
I'm just saying. I'm trying to figure it out.
He didn't have the right adult to talk some sense into him.
But I mean, he's walking around, he ain't in nobody's jail.
And we may never know the truth of that whole Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Like, maybe his mama was in on it. You don't even know. We don't know. We don't know, man. But I will say this with you. You just opened my eye because I was not, I've kind of been in and out of all of these stories. So when I hear you say that, they had $9,000 worth of stuff on them, that don't make sense at all. My logical mind I can't even process that. I can't even process that in a real way.
But I just don't understand is that, first thing they said was, after further research, he'd been bullied, classmates were talking about how he'd been really bullied and stuff. And I'm going, I'm not saying that people can't be bullied. I'm just saying, that's the past? That's the past?
But listen, I can craft any narrative I want to craft for you on the backside of the crime. That's what happens. We know how to do that. We know how to change the narrative. Listen, what is the number one thing they're going to say about a black man that commits a crime? His criminal past was.
Oh, yeah.
What's the number one thing they're going to say about a white guy that commits a crime? His mental health past is. So I can craft that. It's almost like the narrative is ready to go at the completion of the event.
Yeah.
And at what point do you admit that there is mental instability in one community and that there is action that needs to be taken to address that mental instability if this is the reaction or this is the actions that are taken as a result? Or do you just keep making excuses?
Well, that's what the governor said. He said I don't want to butcher the name of the city. What's it called?
Uvalde.
Uvalde. He said, well, the whole community has issues with mental health. I'm going,
how do you know that?
And we're gonna make sure they get the mental health care they need. What?
So you just saying there's a whole community of people that's crazy in the mud. This was inevitable because their whole community is crazy.
Like we've been knowing it. We just know that they can't afford to have mental health care they need.
But they say these things and they want us to believe it.
Okay, let's say it's a bullying issue, school issue. You don't even have discipline in schools. So what is there to counteract a bully? You don't do nothing, talk to them and send them right back to the same class with the same kid that they're bullying.
Come on, sir.
They bring weapons to school and go right back to class.
Mm-hmm.
How does this happen? Nobody gets expelled anymore. No child left behind and everything and all this type of stuff. And it's like you create scenarios, you create conditions that make this more prevalent. If a kid goes and reports a bully, what are you doing? And where are the parents? There is something behind this that nobody is really addressing. And so you get a kid who